Welcome to our Explainer. Today, we're diving into how two of rock's most ambitious bands, Queen and the Electric Light Orchestra, went to war with silence and won, building some of the most monumental sounds ever put to tape. So imagine it's the 1970s. You've got four guys in a band. How on earth do you make them sound like a symphony? I mean, really sound huge? This was the ultimate question, the absolute holy grail for bands that wanted to do more than just play songs. They wanted to build worlds. You know, after the Beatles completely blew everyone's minds with albums like Sgt. Pepper's, the rulebook was just gone. A new generation of musicians, they weren't satisfied with just guitars and drums anymore. They heard these massive sweeping sounds in their heads and became obsessed with figuring out how to get them onto a record. And the key to unlocking all of this? Multi-track recording. This is the tech that changed everything. It basically turned the recording studio from a place where you just, document a performance into an instrument itself. It was like giving a painter a canvas with infinite layers. Okay, and look at how fast things were moving. In the early 60s, the Beatles were wizards on just 4-track machines, having to bounce tracks together in this really clever puzzle-like way. But just a decade later, bands like Queen and ELO had 16, even 24 tracks to play with. This wasn't just a small step up, it was a total revolution in creative firepower. So let's see how they used that power. First up, Queen. These guys looked at the challenge and decided they were going to build their cathedral of sound using the oldest instrument there is, the human voice. And their masterpiece, of course, is Bohemian Rhapsody. You have to remember, this thing was a 6-minute multi-part epic. The record label basically said, "Are you crazy? It's way too long, no radio station will ever play it." But the band insisted, and, well, it became one of the biggest songs of all time. So much for rules. And when you break it down, it's just wild. It's not really a song so much as it is a miniature play. Each of these sections is like a different scene, a whole new mood. It takes you on this incredible journey from pure harmony to a rock anthem and back again. It's just completely bonkers and brilliant. So how'd they pull off that insane opera section with no orchestra? Well, their solution was all them. They literally created what they called a vocal orchestra. Freddie, Brian, and Roger would just sing the same parts over and over and over again, layering their voices until 3 guys sounded like a 100-person choir. It was painstaking, meticulous work. And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the pressure they were under. Brian may wanted to combine the best bits from a few different guitar solos, but the producer, Mac, had to tell him, "Sorry, can't be done." The previous takes were gone, literally recorded over. There was no undo button. You had to be perfect, right then and there. All right, now for our second case study. While Queen was busy building an orchestra out of their own vocal cords, Jeff Lynne and the Electric Light Orchestra, well, they took a slightly more direct route to get that epic sound. I mean, from the very beginning, ELO's mission was crystal clear. They literally wanted to pick up the torch from the Beatles. They wanted to take those wild, string-filled experiments from the end of the Beatles' career and see how far they could possibly push them. It was in their DNA. And they got to their signature sound in 2 really distinct stages. At first, they were masters of illusion, using studio tricks to make a tiny trio of string players sound absolutely massive. But then, when they hit their stride, they just said, "Forget the tricks. Let's bring in the real thing," and hired a full-blown 50-piece orchestra. And you can just imagine the chaos. The famous Musicland studio just wasn't built for that many people. So what did they do? They improvised. They had musicians literally lining the hallways, playing in the lobby, just cramming them in wherever they could fit to capture that enormous cinematic sound. And this quote is my favorite because it gives you such a perfect window into Jeff Lynne's genius. He wasn't looking for clean, polished perfection. His engineer, the same Mac from the Queen sessions, would get this amazing sound, and then Jeff would ask him to screw it up. He wanted texture, a little bit of grit, something uniquely weird that gave the music its personality. So you've got these 2 bands with very different tools, right? Voices versus violins. But what's so fascinating is that they both shared this revolutionary idea about what a recording studio could actually be. When you lay it out like this, you can really see it. 2 completely different blueprints, but they were both building towards the same thing, pure sonic grandeur. Queen went for that theatrical, operatic drama, while ELO was all about those lush textures and unforgettable melodies. Both just game-changing. And here's the wild connection. Producer Reinhold Mach. He was the man in the middle of it all. He engineered and produced huge albums for both bands, so he had this incredibly unique front row seat to see their totally different but equally brilliant ways of chasing that perfect sound. So, in the end, for both Queen and ELO, the studio wasn't just some room where they recorded their music. Nope, the mixing desk, the tape machine, all of it became the fifth member of the band. It's where their sound was truly born. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? Why are we still talking about this decades later? What does it all mean? Well, they basically wrote the blueprint for how to make rock music sound epic. They showed everyone that having only 24 tracks wasn't a problem. It was a creative challenge that pushed them to be more inventive. They proved that the only real limit on a record was your own imagination. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question. These incredible albums were born from struggle and limitation, where every single choice mattered. Today, with computers that give us infinite tracks, where you can do literally anything, you have to wonder, have we lost some of that creative magic along the way? What do you think? Did those limits actually make the music better? Let us know down in the comments. And hey, if this explainer struck a chord with you, go ahead and conduct yourself over to those like and subscribe buttons. We'd love to have you. Thanks for watching.